Hello and welcome to Colin Bradley Artcast. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
How you doing,
Hi,
Dad?
I'm all right, Steve. Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Yes, yes. All settling in really nicely. We're in this new place now. Yeah,
Yeah,
feeling a lot more like home.
I bet
Um,
it is.
yeah, really starting to explore the area and everything like that. And yeah,
Cats are loving it. I don't know. I imagine.
yeah, cats are loving it. Cats are out now exploring the area. They love it. Yeah, they love it. They went out a few days ago, and the cat flaps installed, so they're just whizzing in and out. But they have such a like it's not a massive house, but they have because they have a house, and the last place was quite small.
Mm.
They have multiple rooms they can go in and out of and sleep in. So they're actually not out as much as I thought. Keeping them in for so long, acclimatized them to their new home, and I think they
Mm.
they really like it. They're kind of not venturing too far.
That's good, though, isn't it? It obviously proves it's right. Keeping them that 2 weeks is very important. I don't know whether it's always been like that. I can't remember years and years ago
Mm.
when it started out, but it's a very good system because, as you say, the cats get used to what their living environment, and they know when they're well off.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
they get the best of both worlds, really, don't they?
yeah. I think the advice that I saw online and our friends did was like 2 to 3 weeks, and we did about 2.5 weeks,
All
and
right.
it was really interesting seeing them adjust in that time to the place, and so yeah, they went out and yeah, they absolutely love it, but they equally love staying in now, and especially with so much rain we've been having, they've not wanted to go out.
Mm, mm. And winter time, of course, is going to make it a bit of difference. They'll go out for what they want to go out for, and then they'll shoot back in again. Especially
Yeah,
when the snow's on the ground, and you get snow up that way.
yeah.
Probably because you're on higher ground, you probably get a bit more than usual.
Hmm.
Anyway, I'll
That'll be
find out.
interesting. We will. How have you been? How's your week been?
Very well, yes. Again, out and about, working again. Finished the picture, as you know, and that turned out well. Started another one. I've gone on the tact of wild animals again for a little while, just for a few pictures, and then I'll revert back. It's nice to make a change, but it's also nice to come back to the animal
Good.
world. But no,
Lovely.
everything's fine. Um, we've got people coming down to see us in a couple of weeks, and I expect we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And we'll come up and see you in a couple of weeks. So quite a lot going on at the moment with the other family
Good.
as well. We've got birthdays and 40ths coming up and all sorts of things. Oh, plenty to keep us busy.
Lovely. Really lovely. So we've got one question we'll discuss first, and then we will move on to showing this finished picture. So let's start with the first question, which is from Jackie. And Jackie says, can the clouds, so this is, I should give context here, this is on your coloured pencil landscape class, which is the free class that is on YouTube.
Mm.
And this comment has come from YouTube. And Jackie says, he says, can the clouds be done any other way if you don't have solvent? This is brilliant as I'm new to coloured pencils, and even with watercolour, clouds are the hardest part of a landscape. So Jackie, he's doing the watercolour, the coloured pencil landscape with the clouds, and
Mm.
obviously,
Mm.
if people aren't familiar with your technique of using the solvent to emulsify the blue in the sky and use that, and you have a little technique in that you wait for it to sort of dry a little bit so that
Mm.
it creates a nice texture. Obviously, if you don't have solvent, can you still get a similar effect, or is there any other way of doing it?
No, you can't. Not the same way because the coloured pencil, by its very nature, is a bit like graphite, really. But with graphite, you can blend with your finger. Coloured pencil's not so easy to do that. So I did have a difficulty when I first started. I thought, how do I get the clouds working, looking like they did? I hadn't really used coloured pencils very much at all. So I wasn't familiar with the techniques, but I checked on YouTube and saw a few people using the solvent. Oh, that might work. And then did my own thing, really. And it worked really, really well. But to do that without the solvent, no, I think it's going to be pretty hard to get the smoothness, Steve. And the other way I do it, as you know, is you put the white on and then you put the blue and the other colours you want into it. And then you use your finger once it starts to dry off, as you said. But you've got to time that right, because if you do it too soon, it's just too wet. Do it too late, and you've got to start putting more solvent on. So you've got to time it. But once again, it's the old adage of practice on spare paper. Best thing, that's how I did it. I did lots of, practicing with the spare paper system, and that's how I got it to perfection.
You described, I think, before as the solvent being tacky when you try and sort of, it's sort of almost sticky a little bit when you touch it, and that's sort of when it's starting to turn, and you ideally
right.
want to get it just kind of before that. But I suppose by practicing on spare paper, you get to understand.
Absolutely, you've got to.
The
This is
different
why I say
textures.
you've got to practice on spare paper. Exactly what I did. I mean, when I first did it, it was too wet, and I thought, well, that's not going to work. And then I left it a bit longer, and then I tried it again. It was too dry, and that's not going to work. I had to find that happy medium, and but you will eventually do it. And once you cracked it, that's it. You know, it all changes, and you can put the white back into it again, because what the next question would be, what if you lose the edges of the clouds and you can't bring them back? Well, you can bring them back, because once it's still that tackiness, you can then put the white back in again, and it picks up very well. So it's, as you can see with my demonstration, it works really well. I haven't done coloured pencils for a while, and I really must think about having another go at them. I have so many things, as you know, Steve, that, what do I do next? And I do love the coloured, the pastel pencils.
Absolutely. Well, that leads us nicely on, and thank you, Jackie, for the question. I hope that's helped. Since that question and since other emails I've sent with Jackie, he has actually joined as a member of the website. So there's a lot of pictures that are now, classes that are now available. So Jackie, if you're listening and watching this, I hope you enjoy all that the membership has to offer. Let's move on, as you say, to the pastel pencil pictures and the wild animals that you're working on mostly now. And this, I didn't realise this was a mandrill that you sent this to me and said that the mandrill. So I didn't actually know. I had to try and Google what this was. I just got as far as baboon. It's like a type of baboon, a species, and here it is. Here's the finished picture. So that has come out wonderfully, Dad. Obviously, last week we saw that you'd done a lot of the face and working on the surround, and you hadn't quite finished off the mouth. But yeah, wow. And the rope especially, I was really looking forward to seeing you do that. And my eyes are drawn to the rope and the hands specifically, because that does look tricky. So let's start on that. How did you find that area?
I knew it was going to be a bit tricky. It's a question of working out what you do first. Do you do the rope before the background, or the background before the rope? And it's a bit of some and some, really. But people see it when they see the picture. You see, actually, you've got to draw the rope in, and not just use it in your graphite. You've got to use, I was using 175. Very lightly, don't overdo it. Draw the rope in so you've got the setup, and then once you've done that, you can then bring in this case, it's the fur on the animal. It's got to come in and come out the other side of it. That, again, it's not easy to do, but as you can see, it does work really, really well. And it's best really to wait and for people to wait and see how I do it rather than try to explain it all. The hands are not so bad. But what I did find with the hands, and when I saw the reference picture, the hands on the arms were a distinct different colour tone to the body. And whilst normally I say, well, okay, do what you see, but I couldn't in this case because it needed some link, and I was a bit bemused as to how I was going to get that. But so if you're looking at the fur on the body, you're looking at the greys. Obviously, you're looking at greys and blacks. 181 was a major contributor to that. And then you're looking at the hands, and the main area there would be the browns. And browns and the 181s and Payne's Greys don't necessarily like each other too much. They don't go that well. So I thought, well, I know this, but I couldn't change either. So what I did the hands and the arms, and then I added 176, which is a brown, but it's not. It's a bit like 175. It's not quite as red a brown as some of the browns are. So I used that, and that seemed to work really well. So having done the hands and the arms using that, I then put some of that colour into the background. You can actually see it. I can, because I know what I'm looking at. So I actually put the 175 and the 176 into the dark fur. And again, I put some of the, I don't know whether I used 181, I certainly used grey, the 233 grey, in the arms and hands. So what I was trying to do, and succeeded in doing, is linking the two together.
I can see that as well. I can see that with specifically as we're looking at the mandrill on the left side, above the sort of forearm where the fur just comes, which is another part of I was going to pick up on. The fur just goes over. You've definitely got that brownish tint in there. And that's when you started talking about it. My eyes immediately went to that area and thinking, oh, yes, I can see that. And I think if you didn't have that in there, that would look quite like different. It wouldn't look. It would look a bit odd, wouldn't it?
It would do, yes. I mean, in photographs, when you see a photograph, it's always what you see, and no one can argue with you. But when you've got an artistic impression of that, people can argue with you and say, "Oh, I don't know whether you've got that quite right. It doesn't quite right to me." So you've got to work quite hard in trying to organise and sort that out. But it worked really well. So I mean, once you've done a few of these, you understand them better. And but that was and what his arm is doing is close to his body and is pushing up that fur from the body.
It makes the picture a lot more realistic when you start to see how the fur behaves on the picture, not just straight down on the body, but its behaviour through motion. It adds an element of realism for sure.
Right. That's right. Yeah, but you were talking about the rope. Well, what I found certainly on the photograph or the picture that you can see on your screen, and on the video which I watched back, it does look three-dimensional. Quite amazing how it looks as though it's actually coming out of the paper. It's quite amazing. That I don't quite know why that is, except it's always to do with the shadows and the way you contrast the different tones. But that was something that you can imagine. When I said to you last week, that's what attracted me. One of the things that attracted me was what he was doing, and we know it's a he, by the way, because Ricky pointed that out to me. What he was doing, and he was, I don't know quite what he's actually doing, but he's playing with the rope, which is lovely. And that gave it meaning. It gave it just a little bit more than just a very pretty, attractive picture. But it is quite hard. I did say last week it's between intermediate and advanced, and I think we're going to have to stick to that. But I'd like people to try it. But I put the orangutan, didn't I, as an advanced picture. Well, people did it and did it very well, so I'm sure that they will be able to do this. One of the things I have found, when you've got lots of colour, you imagine all the mouth and the nose and the eyes, there's all lots and lots of tones in that. Once you've got that, it's a little easier than just having a plain fur animal, because you've got to make something of it. When you've got those colours, I find it a little bit easier. You've got sections that you can work on, which make it look nice. So, but generally, no, I was very pleased with the way it turned out.
Yeah, and you mentioned the colours of the hands and how those differ quite a lot from the rest of the picture. But the interesting part about that section for me is the texture, about the texture of the fur on that. And it's actually a very interesting animal when you take into account all of the us talking about it over the last couple of weeks, how they have such different parts to them and the different textures and furs and it's quite a complex animal to get right in terms of drawing it. And so that fur on the hands that looks different to other aspects of the picture as well. So it feels like this is quite complex in terms of its varying textures and techniques to get these key areas right.
If you hadn't seen the original photograph, you could question that and say, is that right? Does that actually look like that? But it does. I've reproduced that almost exactly as the photograph depicted. And I found it quite simple to do. As long as you get the colours right, it wasn't hard to do. And mainly because it was a Pastomat paper. That kind of helps you, because you just drag your pencil across it and it seems to produce that kind of effect for you if you're looking for that. But of course, if you're looking at the top of the head, right at the top of the head, it's very similar colour to the hands and arms. So you are looking at, you can see that there is that colour is in the animal. And I use a lot of the colours in the arms and the hands that I had actually used in the top of the head. So, but very attractive.
It looks wonderful. It looks really, really great. And I was going to say that the choice of background colour seems to really complement it as well. And normally, it's green that is within the picture, but there's no green in this animal.
No. Well, I cheated there because I used the actual colour that was in the photograph.
Okay.
So I couldn't really go wrong as long as I used the colour and stuck to that. I was quite surprised because I was using a greeny blue, very attractive as a Caran d'Ache colour. I can't remember the colour number, but I hadn't really used it before. I can't remember using it before. And this is where Caran d'Ache comes into its own in some of the particular things I've done. You can reproduce it. You could reproduce that with Faber pencils and Cretacolor. You just have to pick 2 or 3 colours to get it. You wouldn't actually get the actual colour. A little bit of blue, a little bit of green, bluey green, and mixing together. But you could do it. As I've said, it's not really a problem now. If you haven't got the Caran d'Ache pencil, whether it's worth buying it just for doing this one picture where you may not have to use it again, I don't know. People have to decide on that. But those colours that I use are very, very nice, very attractive, and it stood out really well. As I said last week, it's obviously in an enclosure. I don't think they have ropes like that in the jungle. Might do, don't know. But So he was in an enclosure of some kind, I think, when the photograph was taken. So I had to think, well, I'll have to, a background, as long as it doesn't depict a jungle as such, then I'm safe. Be pretty safe anyway when you've got a big photograph like this.
And I suppose that those cooler colours, they harmonise with the Payne's grey that's in the actual fur of the animal. That cooler tones, especially on the left-hand side as well, and even in the bottom right and the bottom left, where it is more bluey. You get that harmony across the subject in the background. So
that's right.
yeah.
No, yes, it works. I don't know, you would never have seen the original photograph, but you will on the video. And it was quite light at the top. It had that colour halfway down and then to the bottom, but above the head and around where the ears are, there was a lot of light. And I was thought, shall I use it? But I don't think it would have worked. Continuing that greeny, bluey green up right to the top was a good decision to make. After all, you are trying to enhance your artwork and your animal, so you've got to do everything you can to do that. But it's not good.
Absolutely.
It's lovely though. So
yeah, it's a good picture. It's a good one. Well done, Dad. It looks great. So what are you working on next? You mentioned another wild animal.
Yes, I've got 2 lined up. So the idea is that at the moment I will be doing both of these. One I've done a few times before, but I couldn't resist doing it again. But another one I haven't done at all. So like the Mandrill, I hadn't done that before. This next one I have, and the one after that I haven't. So it's another new one. I like to mix and match a bit, but there's not a lot of animals now that I can pick that I want to do. I mean, I've got alligators and all that sort of thing, but I don't fancy doing that, one of them, or the crocodiles. It doesn't appeal to me. I think the appeal is to this kind of animal, and colourful and lovable and not so lovable ones, but very attractive.
Fantastic. Oh, I look forward to hearing more about that next week. We have this week uploaded another class. So the white kitten, the Bamilla, I believe, is it Bamilla?
Yes, it's Bamilla. I'm just watching that, funny enough, Steve, back at the moment, and I love the eyes. I think they are gorgeous. I was going to make a suggestion. Maybe one of those eyes could go onto YouTube. It's so striking and quite simple. As long as you're careful with the pencils, make sure they're sharp and follow the line drawing. Be quite particular. But it's stunning how it came up, or it's coming up. I haven't got very far with it at the moment, but I like to watch them back if I can. One thing I don't know when I did that, but it was
a little while ago.
Was it early this year or maybe late last year?
I don't know. I can't remember.
No, I can't remember. But it's nice when you've got a gap between them. You think, I remember doing that, and you can. You don't mind watching them back. It's when you've got to watch these back, when I've just watched the Mandrill back, that's a bit close. I remember virtually everything I did then.
Yeah.
But I have to do it to make sure it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So that class, obviously the Mandrill will be coming to the site. The Bamilla cat is up now for people to watch as part of our membership. If you have anything that you would like us to discuss on the show, then always get in touch with us. Leave a comment or email us, and we'll discuss it on the next show. But for now, we will wait to hear what Dad's been working on next week, maybe with a work in progress picture, and see how he's getting on. But for now, we'll stop there for this week. So thank you everyone for watching and for listening. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley. Enjoy your week.